So I've now installed a total of 4 levels of open web floor trusses on this 48-foot tall multi-generational passive ICF house that I am DIY building. Although I do get a little bit of help from my 72-year-old dad, who's able to help for a couple hours a day. And then friends and family are able to help on days like this where I need a few more hands to install open web floor trusses. But anyways, wanted to share some of the lessons learned and tips that I have learned from this 4th time of installing open web floor trusses. So tip number 1 is getting a crane is worth every single penny, because while these particular open web floor trusses are 24 inches on center and about 32 feet or so long, 2 people can lift them. I've even lifted them by hand by myself. It's heavy, it's awkward. Getting them up here would have been a pain. And since for sure I needed to hire the crane to come here to install the glulam beam, I figure as long as I've got the crane here, might as well save our backs and time and have the crane install the open web floor trusses. So one of the things that I did differently this time is, you see that I'm starting to take down the scaffolding. I had 2x12 scaffolding that's just underneath the open web floor trusses. I had the scaffolding up here because I had some delays on the welding, and I didn't want to slow things down, so put up the scaffolding so I could continue to stack block and stack the windows. And I found that stacking ICF windows is actually the most time consuming. It's super easy to just stack straight block. So I had the scaffolding in place anyway, and so I thought I would try something different, and that is installing the trusses with the scaffolding. Versus on the other 3 levels, my dad and I would be up on ladders, grabbing a hold of the trusses as they came across and then guiding them into place. Also, one other difference is on the very first level, down on the basement level, we actually installed those trusses after the walls were poured with concrete, and there's obviously zero flexibility. So in some of the tight places, we had to destroy some of the foam to get the trusses in place. Ever since then, I've actually been installing the trusses when the foam has not been filled with concrete. And that works out a lot better, because if I do need to bend it a little bit, no harm, no foul. So that's another difference. But like I said before, my dad and I would be up on ladders. We'd grab a hold of the trusses, guide them into place. So this time, it was my son and I, because my dad threw out his back, not working on the house. But so it was my son and I, so we were up on the 2x12s. And yes, it's a little bit sketchy to be this high up without those guardrails in place. And so, but what's nice is you're able to hang on to the wall until the truss actually comes in. Once you have a hold of the truss, it's almost like another handrail. So it made it nice and stable. In terms of getting the trusses in, obviously that would have been a problem to drop, because the walls are now higher, for the truss guy to just try to guide those in. He would have totally damaged the top of all of and probably busted out some of the block. But you can see none of that happened, because we put a guide rope on at the end of the truss that was coming in, and I'd be standing over there by the window. I'd grab a hold of the guide rope, and then I would be able to guide the truss in to my son, who was over here on this side. So actually I do see down on the end, there's a little tiny scratch in that foam, but it's okay. So that's how we would do it. And then also, because I had to put up some of the 2x4s that you see on the other side, I had to put them up on both sides, because we've had some pretty high wind gusts. And without those 2x4s there, even though I do add foam when I'm stacking my block, they would have blown over. So that made it a little bit tricky, because we'd have to angle the trusses to get them around those, but it worked. So what I would do is bring it in through the big window, and then we would just walk it and then set it down. And then our crane operator ended up getting a call from another job, and they needed him. And so I had 6 more trusses. Normally we fly them up one at a time, but I said, hey, you know what? Just go ahead. I'm gonna throw the other 6 down at that end. And then my son and I were able to lift them up, set them into place. Now, hindsight being 2020, it's a lot easier when the crane, I mean, yes, we were able to lift them, put them into place. It's a lot easier and a lot safer with the crane. So I would not suggest saving money on the crane and dumping all of your trusses once you have enough up here. It's not worth it. It's not worth a fall. And so we did put in 6. We both lived through it, but hindsight, probably wouldn't do it again. Another little tip is I put 2x4s in the Watkins hangers to lift the trusses above so that I'm able to get out so I lifted the trusses above the scaffolding. The reason why that's important is because I'm now needing to take down the scaffolding and have the trusses been resting on the 2x12s, that would not have worked. But it's working out very nicely. And then once I get the scaffolding out, then it's easy enough for me to just lift up these open ripple trusses, pull out the 2x12s, and then everything will sit down nicely. And I think that's all the tips that I have. So anyways, if you want to follow along on the crazy journey as I DIY this 48-foot tall multi-generational home, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.